So the formula. Speaking of laying baselines for this month and laying baselines for the season, there will be a lot of discussion about how Nebraska gets over the hump this year and how they get to 8 wins or 9 wins or compete for a Big Ten championship or compete for a college football playoff spot. Everybody will be trying to sort of evaluate that over the next month. How do you do it? Yeah, it's pretty easy. You win football games. How do you win football games? That's what I'm worried about, and that's what I want to talk about for the next 10 or so minutes. Every team has a different formula to win football games. It might not be completely science. It might not equal out to a 0 at the end of the day, but everybody goes into the year or goes into a game and they think this is the type of game that we have to play to fit us and that works for us. For Nebraska, they've spent the last 2 years, as I said earlier, playing mud ball. I'm calling it mud ball, where their big, beefy defense, I mean, really big guys, right? Stops the run, keeps everything in front of them. The offense was quite literally stuck in that mud purposefully, in my mind. Mm-hmm. Sam wrote this today in his rewind column that I thought was, kind of an insane stat that I didn't think about. Nebraska's defense faced the second fewest plays per game in Power Conference football last year behind Missouri. Nebraska's defense faced the second fewest plays per game in Power Conference football last year, under 60 plays per game. Yeah, you want to maximize what you can get out of your defense, but you're trying to hide your offense a little bit. And in order to really hide the offense, you want to possess the ball longer. So routinely, over the last 2 years, especially under Marcus Satterfield as the offensive coordinator for a year and 3/4, basically, they would snap the ball pretty routinely with under 10 seconds on the play clock. They would go slow. What did Satterfield say when he got here? He said, we like huddling up. We like what happens in that huddle. And he didn't talk about the advantages that the slow tempo gives you. In this case, it's helping out the offense just by staying on the field and helping out the defense, of course, as well. But Nebraska had taken on the personality of a team that wanted that felt like it had to win games defensively. And because of that, they had to play a certain way. They had to accentuate the best qualities about themselves. And that was their defense over the last 2 years. But there is a third element, as we know, special teams. In my mind, I would characterize special teams over the last 2 years, forgive the reference, but needed to be tucked away like the catcher in your slow pitch softball league. Who plays catcher in your slow pitch softball league? The guy that you don't want in the outfield, the guy that you don't want at shortstop, the guy that you want to have the least amount of impact on the football game, baseball game, in this case, softball game, possible. You put him at catcher. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if you're a catcher out there in your slow pitch softball league and you didn't know about this. There's a reason why you're catching. There is. So that was Nebraska's special teams over the last couple of years. Hide. The least we could use you, the better. We don't want to, and when we are out there, please have the most minimal impact that you could possibly have on the game, because we know the more that we are exposed on special teams, the more that we are on the field, the better chance there is for something to go absolutely and completely haywire.
They've been on the wrong end for a very long time.
Right.
Just cover your eyes whenever you see them on the field.
So that formula is changing. That formula will change this year. And by the way, for a team that was set up the way it was, especially in Rule's first year, it's a fine formula. You wanted to minimize the impact of your offense, minimize the impact of your special teams, have your defense be the star of the show, win football games that way. You're going to get in some tight ones, and they're probably going to be late because so much time is being just chewed off the clock, theoretically, while you're on offense. That's the idea. Now, if you get into a situation like they did in early 2023, where they turned the ball over damn near every time they touched it, the formula doesn't quite work anymore. It doesn't quite look the same. So, like I said, the formula doesn't always work out. It's not a science. You still have to execute it, right? But you want to have an idea. So here's the idea, in my opinion, by the way this team looks this year. It's faster, it's sharper, it's more explosive. The offense moves at the very least a normal pace, with the potential to kick it up a notch from there. The defense is lighter. The defense is more agile. The defense is more explosive. I'm not saying that they're going to be better. It also depends on your interpretation of the word better. But the defense is lighter, they're more agile, and they're more explosive. And the special teams, they might not be the shortstop or the center fielder in your slow pitch softball league, but maybe they could be a nice corner outfielder who gets the ball in and hits their cutoff man. You know what I mean? Maybe it's not a complete and total disaster when they're the center of attention. Does that sound like something that could be accomplished for Nebraska this year? I'm talking about scoring some more points, or at the very least, and maybe there's a conversation about this. Last 2 years, Nebraska's defense has been the star of the show, like I said. Is their offense the star of the show now? Are they far enough along with Dana Holgorsen and with Dylan Raiola to where they could say, no, we're not just going to be out there, trying to methodically move the ball downfield and give our defense a blow. We're trying to get some stuff accomplished here. We're trying to score some damn points. Like we're trying to be the reason that we win football games, not the reason we try not to lose football games. And Nebraska, if that's the case, Nebraska's defense plays a really integral role in this because you actually want the ball on offense. So in order to get the ball, you have to take the ball away, right? So it's, yes, the aforementioned, as we've talked about the last 2 years, stops on third down. It's got to get way better. But Nebraska's got to go get the ball more. They have to get turnovers. They have to create negative plays, explosive plays on the defensive side. And frankly, the reason I'm saying this is because I feel like that is what this team looks like on paper. Think about that defensive line. I know Rule was really complimentary of him last week, and he said, hey, I think we're going to be pretty good. I think we're going to be hell on wheels or whatever it was, and that was certainly perk my ears up. I'm listening. I'm watching now. But it's lighter, right? And nobody knows exactly what the main pieces are going to be there. And it's not going to be Nash Hutmaker and Ty Robinson just holding things up in the middle. I know those players had their shortcomings in the athletic pieces of the game and creating penetration and things like that. They were good players and they successfully did their jobs over the last couple of years. They don't have those guys anymore. Are they trying to find the next Nash Hutmaker and Ty Robinson? It doesn't feel like it to me. Maybe there's a guy or two who fits that mold. Maybe Riley Van Poppel fits that mold. But I feel like you're going for disruption on the defensive line and disruption with the linebackers. And for the defensive backs, ball hawking, right? It's not going to be a let's keep everything. I don't think it should be. This would be my proposed formula. It's not going to be a let's keep everything in front of us defense, and then when the other team gets down to the 4-yard line on our goal line, we bow up enough to make a stand. No, I think they have to go get the ball because they want to get the ball back to their offense. So creating plays like that to get the ball back to your offense so that they can score. And like I said, maybe the special teams, I know people have high hopes for it. I know there will be a lot of conversation about the rugby punter and what happens at the field goal kicking spots and returners and all those things. There's not a ceiling on what they could potentially do this year, but I'm going to keep the expectations mild, at least so far on that group. Can you just not lose games, right? That could fit into Nebraska's formula. But theoretically, if the defense is getting more explosive and they're making splash plays, you want the special teams to be able to complement that as well. Obviously, you always want your special teams to be good. There's no there's no rules on that one.
Just find ways to win on special teams. Just get some extra yardage if you can, protect the football, and make some good kicks. You want to also protect the kicker, make sure you got some leverage. So
no doubt about it,
because that's been an issue for the last few seasons for the special teams unit.
So if my question to you all, and that's just it's a very broad, general, kind of guess. If that happens, if they are a team like that, does that sound like something that could be accomplished for Nebraska this year? What are the barriers to that? And if they do execute that formula, if they are that team, what does that mean? How good can they be? That's where you get into the conversation about, 8 wins, 9 wins, 10 wins, and competing for spots in the college football playoff. So Sam wrote this. He wrote he and once again we'll talk about this with him. At 1:00. But he wrote that quote that I mentioned from Rule. When I go out places, people ask me about the defensive line a lot. Our defensive line's going to be ... They're going to be hell on wheels. Just watch. Sam wrote, there's no more substantive comment Rule made in Las Vegas because if Nebraska matches or surpasses its defensive line play from a year ago, this is a college football playoff contender. This is the fun new thing about creating a new formula for yourself. The sky is literally the limit. Or the ceiling is the roof, I suppose, as some people have said over time. Right? The sky is the limit because we don't know exactly what this group's limitations are quite yet because they've changed the formula, or they are assumingly changing the formula a little bit. I do feel like it's doing a disservice to this offense, to Dylan Raiola, to his wide receivers, and to Emmett Johnson, who's earned it, to not go a little faster. It would be a disservice to this group with how much talent they have comparative to the last couple of years. But really specifically, I'm talking about the quarterback. It would be a disservice to him to sit there and plod away and snap the ball every, what feels like once every 5 minutes. You can get up and go to the bathroom in between offensive plays for Nebraska, depending on how close your bathroom is, I suppose. I don't. I think it would be a disservice for them to do that again, and they won't. I don't think they're going to be going warp speed. Dana Holgerson has talked about that before, but I think they'll understand the whole picture. So I do think it's something that can be accomplished. And I think the offense can be the star of the show. What are the barriers to Nebraska getting to this point? Well, if their special teams is a giant crater again, I mean, that's a barrier, right? That could really hurt you in a hurry. If the defensive line, if that's just a complete fabrication about the defensive line, which I don't think it is for the record, then that's a problem. If Nebraska has an injury at a key position like quarterback or running back, I think that really, derails you a little bit. But if everything is able to come together and they're able to, be a version of what I just said and be that kind of team, unless I'm just completely misfiring on what they're going for here. If they're able to execute that, can they be an 8 or 9 or 10 win kind of team? Yeah, I think, like I said, that's the fun part about rewriting the math equation for this year. You don't exactly know what the ceiling is. Might some opponents be a little bit, surprised to see Nebraska going at the pace and tempo that they will be going at this year comparative to the last couple of years? Yeah. Might they be surprised when the windows are a little bit less tight defensively and there's some guys up in your grill and they're playing a little bit more aggressive? Maybe. And is Nebraska's schedule manageable this year? Yeah, indeed. So there's no real ceiling. I mean, it'd be hard to see them winning more than 10 games, I think, but I don't think there is a ceiling. On the other side, could it blow up in a disastrous fashion?
I would say it's possible. Because it's happened before.
Whenever you change the thing, whenever you raise the ceiling the way that Nebraska thinks it has, you have this kind of unknown about what they're going to be and how they're going to try to win games. Whenever you have that, you also lower the floor, I think, a little bit. I think Rule would argue that they have built a strong foundation over the last couple years, and they have established a floor, right? And now this becomes sort of a jumping off point. But and then, like I said, the schedule is manageable enough as well. But is that potentially in the cards as well? Sure. But that's the way I look at it going into camp. I can't wait to get more, just nuggets on that idea as we go on throughout this thing.